The slow and gentle maneuvers of my pants suggest they're fully loaded.
I'm gonna use the outhouse. If I die out there, will you guys just do me one favor? Just once, I want you to switch seats.
Fuck off!
Hello there, I'm Darren,
And I'm Doogie.
and this is The Real Sequels, the series of events that happened after Episode 6 in the books, novels, and sometimes comics. Today we're looking at Chapter 30, 31, and 32.
Yes. So, Chapter 30 opens with Card and Aves standing beside the collapsed arch. Impressed by Luke's handiwork, Card knows he can't linger for long and tells Aves to go back and begin the evacuation of the base. Card then sees off Han and Luke. Han thanking Card for risking his people. Card thanking Han. And Luke for likely saving a few of those same people's lives by his actions. Why did I say Han?
That's staying in.
Han thanking Card for... Card asks if the Republic might be able to spare a couple of ships to help with the evacuation, but Han reminds him that he came to Card because the New Republic is having problems finding enough ships to move its own cargo. But he'll see what he can do. As Luke and Han set off in a speeder, Card wonders how likely it will be that Han sends anything. He knows Han holds depths of honor as sacred.
Tell that to Kanja Club.
So if he finds something, he'll send it along. And it should be easy enough for Card to steal it when it arrives. Perhaps such a gift will lessen Thrawn's anger, but maybe not. Either way, Card knows he'll probably never again get to see this planet he's grown so fond of. He has grown quite fond of.
You should do this more. You trying to read my thoughts out loud is unintentionally so funny. Oh. Oh, right, sorry. Yeah.
Han, Luke and Lando set off in the Falcon. After reaching...
Should I leave? Is this gonna be too much? Oh.
Han, Luke and Lando set off in the Falcon after attaching Luke's X-Wing with a tow cable.
See, I'm laughing at laughing at stuff that isn't even like funny.
As they are talking,
I will go and get you some nice crayons.
As they are talking, Luke suddenly feels a familiar strength fill his body. He takes a deep breath and tells Han it's like seeing after being blind, which Han knows all about. He makes the jump to light speed, and Luke asks if they're going to Coruscant, but Han says no. They're stopping at the Slius van shipyards to get Lando medical treatment. Lando took a blaster bolt in the fight. They got him patched up, but he'll need a bacta tank to recover properly. Luke also guesses that Han wants to try and borrow a ship to help Card, and Han is a little defensive when he says it's true. Akbar has lots of ships carrying stuff to the Slius van sector already. Borrowing one for a couple of days shouldn't be an issue. The final scene of this chapter is of 5 Star Destroyers, 12 Strike-class cruisers, 22 light cruisers, and 30 squadrons of TIE fighters sitting 3,000ths of a light year from the Slius van shipyards. A single bulk freighter sitting in their midst. While the ships were making their final check, Thrawn asks Pelion about Mercure. Pelion says that the last report was 14 hours and 10 minutes ago. Thrawn had left orders for them to report every 12 hours, and Pelion suggests that they are having transponder problems. But after a few heartbeats, Thrawn says, no, Skywalker must have been there. Without his force powers, he would have needed help defeating the stormtroopers, and Thrawn concludes that Card is not as neutral as he proclaimed. His betrayal will be kept for later, after the attack on the shipyards. Thrawn gives the order for the freighter to activate the cloaking shields and make the jump to Slius van. The rest of the fleet will follow in 6 hours and 20 minutes. The chapter ends with a smile on Thrawn's lips as he tells Peelion to remind the other ships that our final victory over the rebellion becomes here. So close.
So close.
The chapter ends with a smile on Thrawn's lips as he tells Peelion to remind the other ships that our final victory over the rebellion begins here.
Area. Don't worry, only another 2 pages to go.
That was only half of one. Chapter 31 begins with Wedge on the bridge of the... Chapter 31 begins... Let it out.
It's just because I remember you struggled with this line as well.
This will be no different. Chapter 31 starts with Wedge on the bridge of the ship him and his squadron have been escorting from Coruscant. The X-Wing pilots have been sitting around the ship for 2 days, waiting for the actual escort part of the mission to start, and the captain of the ship didn't let Wedge forget it. They were waiting in line at the Slius van shipyards, another hour at least until their turn to dock, staring out of the viewport as the captain continues to complain about the hotshot pilots and all the tea they've been drinking. Wedge spots a battered old bulk freighter, and old combat senses begin to tingle. He checks the scanners, which show the ship is empty. However, its slow and gentle maneuvers suggest it's fully loaded.
What was that inflection?
That was a weird one, wasn't it? It suggests it's fully loaded.
Lock and load.
The slow and gentle maneuvers of my pants suggest they're fully loaded. The captain, all hint of bitter complaining replaced by calm alertness, asks if there's trouble. Wedge points out the ship and says something just doesn't feel right. He pulls out the comlink and tells Rogue Squadron to get into their ships. Then he makes his way down to the hangar himself. By the time they're out, the bulk freighter has drifted towards the pair of Mon Cal cruisers. And as Wedge watches, the bulk freighter suddenly explodes. Wedge quickly puts out an alert to the station, and as he does, so can he see that the supposedly empty cargo bay of the freighter is not empty at all. Following the explosion is a wave of TIE fighters. The battle for Slius Van had begun. Han had just taken his place in line at Slius Van when the call came over the comm about the explosion. Han starts to bring the ship around to check it out when the Falcon is hit from behind by a laser bolt. He immediately takes evasive maneuvers and more shots fly past. Luke claws his way into the cockpit against the G-forces and tells Han there are a couple of Star Destroyers behind them, along with another 20 or so ships. Then Wedge's voice comes over the general frequency, reporting 40 TIE fighters and 50 cone-shaped ships in the orbit dock area. Luke calls Wedge to let him know that him and Han are on their way in the Falcon. Han says there isn't time to get Luke into his X-Wing, so they cut it loose and Luke heads back to get Lando and the droids strapped in before he makes his way to the top turret of the Falcon. Peelion is issuing commands on the other ships when he turns to see Thrawn staring out of the viewport at the fleeing ship in the distance. Thrawn says it's a Millennium Falcon, towing an X-Wing. Peelion can barely make out the ship design, never mind identify it. Not that he would say anything about that out loud. Instead, he reports the progress from the clucking ship, and Thrawn tells him to order the TIE fighters not to engage in unnecessary dogfights. The mole miners should concentrate on Mon Cal ships, and to inform them that the Millennium Falcon is coming in. And if it turns out Luke Skywalker is there, then Talon Card will have a great deal to answer for. Wedge and his wingmate, Rogue 5, are coming from underneath a Mon Cal cruiser when Wedge notices one of those cone-shaped ships attached to the hull. As he slows down to take another look, the cruiser suddenly opens fire on him. He takes a bit of damage but quickly accelerates away. He gets Rogue 5 to do a scan, and they see that 15 of the original 50 cone-shaped ships are still showing up. They decided to go investigate the nearest cone ship to try and figure out where they are going. They find it being escorted by 4 TIEs, and shortly after they engage the escort, they are joined by the Falcon. Luke taking 2 of the TIEs out himself in the first pass. Afterwards they chase the cone ship and catch up just in time to see it latch onto an escort frigate. A bright flash of light coming from the connection between the cone ship and the hull of the frigate. It's Han that recognises the cone ships as Lando's mole miners and the bright flash as a plasma jet. Then Han realises that the Imperials aren't there to wreck the ships, they're there to steal them. Luke, Han, Wedge and Rogue 5 set out to destroy the remaining mole miners, before trying to figure out how to stop the compromised ships from leaving. They know that once the stolen ships reach the perimeter of the Star Destroyers, there'll be no hope of getting them back.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now! They fly now!
Pelion is impressed by the resistance the New Republic and the Slius are able to mount on such short notice. The Star Destroyers are holding the perimeter, however the Chimera's starboard shield is nearly gone. Pelion tells engineering to get the shield back up, when Thrawn calmly tells the starboard gunners to focus their fire on the starboard side of a nearby enemy assault frigate. Under the intense fire, that entire side of the ship goes dark, and Thrawn then instructs the tractor crew to bring the ship towards the starboard side of the Chimera, keeping the now molten starboard side of the assault frigate facing them, using the enemy ship as armour to protect the weak side.
I think it's funny how he's talking about the tractor beam crew. They certainly won't be messing up this time. After that last incident.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pull it in, pull it all in.
They don't care if they have to launch a guy over with a tow cable to bring it in. That ship is coming to the Chimera exactly where Thrawn wants it.
Where do you want me to park it?
Yeah.
Thrawn then asks about the mole miners, and Pelion says 43 have successfully attached, 39 of which have gained control and are heading to the perimeter. The other 8 mole miners have been destroyed, however. Thrawn tells Pelion to signal the ties, protecting the mole miners to begin retreating, and as soon as the captured ships have joined the Imperials, they will be leaving. Luke and Han are trying unsuccessfully to disable the engines of the frigate directly in front of them. The armour of the capital ship is just too thick for the fighters' guns to do anything. Running out of time, Han begins to ask for R2 to search the schematics for another possible weak spot, when he gets a flash of inspiration. He tells Luke to go get Lando and bring him to the cockpit. When he arrives, Han tells Lando to activate the mole miners. They are probably all attached close to the bridge, so if they can use the miners to damage enough critical systems, they might be able to stop the ships in their tracks. Lando keys in the command code, and they watch as all the capital ships slowly begin to twitch, control rudders kicking them in random directions before their engines finally shut down completely, as huge jets of flame begin to erupt from the sides of the hulls where the mole miners were drilling into the ships. The chapter ends with Thrawn staring at the status boards for a long minute, Pelion waiting for an explosion of injured pride. Thrawn suddenly looks at Pelion and calmly asks if the TIE fighters have returned. Pelion confirms that they have, and Thrawn orders a withdrawal. Pelion stumbles a bit, and Thrawn smiles faintly and says, "You were expecting me to order an all-out attack? Try to cover our defeat in a frenzy of false and futile heroics? We have been defeated, Captain. Merely slowed down a bit. As long as we have Mount Tantus, our ultimate victory is still assured. I will not waste ships and men trying to change what cannot be changed." The final chapter of Heir to the Empire ends with Han, Luke and Wedge on the bridge of the escort frigate. When Leia calls Han, she tells Han to get back to Coruscant as soon as possible. Akbar has been accused of treason, removed from command and arrested. Han says him and Luke are on their way, and the two of them hurry from the bridge, determined not to let an overambitious Bothan ruin the fledgling Republic by starting a civil war.
Yeah, that was a long one today, but I really enjoyed it. Like, that was such a fantastic end to a great book, I think.
Yeah, even whenever Thrawn loses, he wins.
Mm-hmm.
You see that kind of tactician Palpatine in him a little bit.
Because, yeah, like, even though Thrawn didn't get any of the ships, but all these New Republic capital ships have now been, like, ruined. It'll take months, maybe even years, to get them all repaired again. So, it's obviously not what he wanted, but, yeah, as you say, it's not a total loss on Thrawn's side.
No, definitely. And thank you guys for sticking with it this far, and I hope you enjoyed the series. We'll be moving on to Book 2 in the Thrawn trilogy after this.
So that's all we have time for this week. Make sure to like, share and subscribe, and check out some of our other videos that we'll have floating around at the end of this one. And we'll see you all next time. Bye!
Bye. You gotta do one more bye. One more, like,
okay.
brr.
I guess that was it. Bye! What was that?
That's perfect.
What was that? But if you're happy with that, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.